Welcome back to another Exoborne lore video. This time we're going to dig into the 9th stage of Rehack that opened up back in November and completed the Rebirth section of the ARG. This stage was split into 2 parts and reveals even more about the inner workings of the company known as Rebirth. Afterward, I'll go over some new lore details from the world of Exoborne that were revealed as part of the Exoborne Dev Talks video series that delivered answers to some of the questions I posed at the end of my last Exoborne video. I'd also like to note that I made a bit of a mistake in my previous video, and I said that Colton County was located in the western United States, but meant to say eastern United States, as indicated by some of the landmarks and other images from solving Rehack puzzles. My only explanation for this is that I recorded the video around 3 or 4 a.m. and clearly that was a mistake, as I apparently stopped being able to read or speak correctly. Regardless, expect to see a lot more info in the near future as the upcoming 3rd Exoborne playtest, taking place February 12th through the 17th, will not be under NDA, allowing me to reveal even more info about the world of Exoborne when that time comes. If you'd like a chance to participate in the test yourself, you can sign up right on the store page for the game on Steam, which will be linked below. Don't forget to wishlist while you're there. With that, let's dive in. After a long stretch of silence, Omnis has finally contacted us again. They note that we've entered deep into the Stratos Tower systems and there's no going back. They've done everything they can to help us with the upcoming ciphers, but they're unlike anything that Omnis has seen. Rebirth has encrypted everything thoroughly and will require multiple steps to get past. Not only that, time is limited and we will not be able to investigate every file. Rebirth is hiding something crucial that they've tried to keep hidden. Omnis will download a portion of the files to decode later and implores us to find what we can amidst the rest. They leave us to it with a final warning. We've found fragments of data, hints of something dark. We won't speculate. We need to know. Stay sharp. The stakes are higher than we imagined. With this, the hunt begins anew, and we set about investigating a number of new files. One is a strange bisected image repeating the word Renatus over and over again with one exception. Manipulation of the image reveals the word Reviviscere near the center running across the bisected section. Renatus is a Latin word that translates to born again, or, more aptly, rebirth. Reviviscere is a variation of the Latin word reviviso, meaning something to the effect of to live again, aka to be reborn. Along with this image, we find a set of 3 code fragments that when compiled and run output a variety of clues. Following this, a series of riddles and puzzles occur in which the various clues become relevant to help solve them. Each failure to solve them is logged by the system, and Omnis's warning becomes all too real. Luckily, the Reborn set to the task were able to overcome it, prompting congratulations from Omnis, who reveals we now have access to files from Rebirth's Research and Development Division. First, we gain access to various images detailing some of Rebirth's tech, including an ATV, a dropship, and most importantly, the Exo-Rig, of which there are a variety, each with their own specialties. Following this, we find a chat log that takes place between 2 members of the Exo-Rig Prototype Research Division, in which they discuss measurements to be taken from a secret module added to the Exo-Rig prototype after a, quote, Rebirth Guardian volunteer enters a storm. Next, a text document detailing the Exo-Rig prototype brief that explains the purpose of the Exo-Rig. The goal, it notes, is to ultimately create a device that will directly integrate with the human limbic system to enhance their capabilities, being able to lift more, endure extreme weather conditions, and handle external forces that would wound a normal human. As Rebirth needs to build structures in dangerous and remote areas that normal equipment cannot reach, the ultimate goal of the Exo-Rig is to make someone an all-in-one system capable of construction and other tasks with minimal equipment. To this end, the company enlisted volunteers to help in their fight against the climate crisis known as Rebirth Guardian Volunteers, or RGV for short. The RGV were tasked with working across various divisions of Rebirth, assisting in a variety of duties including the construction of structures and facilities needed to turn the tide. Challenges highlighted in reaching goals for the prototype include ensuring the prototypes integrate and operate only via proprietary operating systems, including failsafes that prevent actions to be taken contrary to Rebirth's primary goals, and the ability to control and limit options that an RGV can command externally. Create a solid core functionality to act as a foundation for a more customizable and versatile system that can be upgraded to suit the tasks needed from them. A steady supply of young volunteers who can be quickly trained in the usability of the prototype to help meet the needs of construction demands. The next document uncovered reveals an internal memo sent from the R&D lead engineer manager, Holtberg, likely a reference to Sharkmob developer Martin Holtberg. The document describes issues involving input delays between the RGV and the Exo-Rig prototype, and the disruption this is causing in testing and the strain it puts on equipment due to erratic behavior of the RGVs. The recommended solution is to adapt the Exo-Rig interface to integrate with the limbic system of the human brain, allowing for more direct control of the rigs. He also notes that this would allow them to capture valuable emotional data from the user, including fear and shock responses, and potentially allow for influencing of memory and cognitive functions to enhance memory retention and learning capabilities. Next are two documents covering the vehicles seen in the unlocked photos. The first describes an executive directive to design a new aerial troop transport vehicle, as previously used vehicles such as helicopters have become increasingly unreliable due to increasing weather conditions. The text notes that their design will be weighed against pitches from other contractors and the need to prove that Rebirth has the best engineers available. The primary parameters set forth for the vehicle include being powered electrically, the ability to carry multiple fully outfitted RGVs, and the ability to rapidly deploy and extract fully equipped personnel to places where ground transport is impractical. The vehicle must be able to withstand extreme weather situations and must be operable only with Exo-Rig integration. The second of the two documents is similar in nature, but desires the design of a ground transport vehicle, as conventional ground transport has failed to live up to expectations in the increasingly extreme weather conditions. It must be able to transport multiple fully equipped RGVs and be operable by them in cases when aerial vehicles may not be feasible. Much as with the aerial vehicle, the criteria to be met include Exo-Rig integration, electrically powered, and the ability to withstand extreme elements. Finally, two more images are included in the new files. One depicts an Exo-Rig prototype model shown from multiple angles, the other showing the backside view of the proposed ground transport vehicle. You are being traced. This ominous message is the first thing that greets us upon the next stage of rehack before the message from Omnis can be viewed. With no other recourse but to check it, they report that someone is actively trying to trace yours and their location, and they need to gather some data to secure the connection and stop the trace. They suspect the source of the trace is a machine located in the tower and have a plan to disrupt it, but need assistance to check some data they've gathered and discover the password to the system, upon which they'll be able to set up a remote connection and work to stop the trace. With that, they leave a zip file full of captured data. Once transmitted and extracted, the file is found to contain 3 sets of logs. Each attempts to log into the system, most of which failed. However, there is one successful login and some encryption data along with it. Utilizing this clue and other bits of encrypted data throughout the files, they reveal the key needed to crack the cipher used to encrypt the password. The Reborn working on puzzling this out ultimately found the solution. Of particular interest is the key for the cipher, which came out to be, "Without Tar, there is no rebellion." Tar is a name we encountered once before in a previous stage, and is a name that will prove to be of importance based on the info released recently on the game's story. Omnis sends congratulations on the successful cracking of the password, and sets about hiding their tracks, asking us to review the data uncovered to see if there is any sign of who attempted the trace, and noting that their team has successfully made headway accessing the next level of files, noting that it seems to have less security around it than the final few. With that, they leave us to what has been revealed. The first document this time around is a chat conversation between 2 Exo-Rig prototype researchers. One of them, designated Leo Lore, expresses concerns at some of the capabilities being developed for the Exo-Rigs, noting things like thermal optic settings and enemy highlighting listed under construction preferences, and some preliminary sketches which show relatively devastating weaponry. Or why the repair drones they saw demonstrated feature tactical elimination protocols. Our main goal is to save the planet, right? He asks. The other member of the conversation, designated Os Boss, is much more nonchalant about the capabilities of Rebirth's tech and spouting non-sequitur-like conclusions about how they must be for defense and how a global corporation like ours needs to protect our interests, and concludes that they should move on and not think about it too much. Because not thinking always fixes problems, Leo Lore concludes. Following this, there are a couple of images depicting models of a prototype sniper rifle created by Rebirth, as well as an Exo-Rig model variant named Kestrel. Finally, we are granted access to a few additional files. The first, titled tracking.txt, details a number of logged attempts to access files, and it becomes clear that this was likely the tracking that Omnis spoke of. The notes on the file question if the person making the attempts is Omnis, and references the moving of several sensitive weapons research files to keep them from accessing them. While in the system, the user, presumably Omnis, attempts to access a variety of logs and security data, as well as a document titled catsecrets.txt, the log noting it as a sensitive file. Along with this file, there are a few more images, one showing a model of a handgun with a variety of potential attachments, the next showing 2 more variety of Exo-Rig, though these are not given a designation. One is more serpentine in appearance, and one is much larger and bulkier than the other 2 seen. This is as far as Rehack has reached at this time, but we have been able to learn a variety of new details about the world of Exoborne and its story from other sources in the meantime. SharkMob has begun a video series known as Dev Talks, the first of which is titled Call to Arms, and reveals some interesting new info. In the video, we're given a pretty big reveal right off the bat. We play as a Reborn, which we knew, but the reason we've arrived in Colton County is that we've been summoned there by none other than the mysterious Tar, whom we've seen mentioned a couple of times throughout Rehack. Tar is the leader of the Reborn Rebellion. We're told that Rebirth did indeed cause the event that destroyed the world when they turned on mankind and used the Stratos Towers to unleash cataclysmic storms. In the post-apocalyptic ruins of Colton County, a number of factions have formed that are vying for control of land and resources in the area. Some are friendly to us, others decidedly not. On the not-so-friendly side, we have factions of bandits such as the Bodkin and the Nord. Friendly factions include the Alpha, the Sovereign, and the Potluck, whom you will do missions for and who will help push the story forward as the game progresses. In addition, not all Reborn are friendly. They have their own motives and goals inside Colton County, and anyone can attack you on sight. Aside from these groups, Rebirth is still present in the area, and approaching their facilities offers some of the best rewards, but also the most danger, as these structures are not unprotected. The devs reiterate the concepts we saw in the recent stages of Rehack, noting that the Exo-Rigs were originally tools designed for construction, and their purpose was to aid in the building of the Stratos Towers and other structures that would aid in saving mankind. However, something went wrong. We see a quick glimpse of some kind of uprising, and the Exo-Rigs were turned on mankind. As we learned earlier, there were weapon systems being hidden within the normal functionality of the Exo-Rigs, and these were likely used to devastating results, perhaps a part of the reason for Tar and his rebellion. In the game, this translates to highly customizable Exo-Rigs that allow for a variety of weaponry and defensive capabilities. There's a bit less story info presented in the second Dev Talk video, as its primary focus is on the weather effects present in the game, but we do get a little bit to work with. Here, it talks again of Rebirth, and that their purpose was to save mankind from a worsening climate crisis, but that they miserably failed us. The destruction of the world as we know it is referred to as the Great Collapse, a chain of climate events that tore the world asunder. The game takes place a few years after this has occurred, and we see some of the horrendous damage that has been caused. Aside from the clearly altered coastline we saw in an earlier Rehack stage, the video speaks of one landmark in particular found on the map, a massive oceanic oil rig that during the crisis was ripped from its place due to hurricane weather and flooding and thrown inland, tearing through everything in its path and lodged into the middle of a forest, leaving scarred and polluted land in its wake. That sums up what we've learned for now. Keep an eye out for more info next month once the playtests drop. We haven't seen the end of Omnis and the Rehack ARG just yet either, so expect more info as soon as I can bring it to you. Until next time, no traces.